start channel because I love YouTube, I love physical media, I love collecting. But after a while of streaming, making a lot of videos, I decided I wanted to get to know some of the people that got me into it, some of the people that I watched when I decided to become a collector and a YouTuber. This is my first guest, Ken from Mid-Level Media.
Hey, that was awesome, man.
Cool, thank you. I've Cause I know you know who Cause is, but Cause had me make him an intro, and I've been trying to help you figure out how to get it on there.
Yeah.
So the storm passed. We still got rain here. I was raining so hard earlier I couldn't even hear. I was streaming with Jersey, and they were doing Star Wars.
Yeah. What area are you in?
Indiana.
Indiana. Yeah, you're right above me then.
Yeah, you're in Kentucky, aren't you?
Yep, I'm in the upper part of I'm close to the Louisville area. Close to the Louisville area. So it was just tornadoes everywhere like 15 minutes ago. I was literally under my steps hunkering down.
Yeah, I've always wanted to see a tornado sometime before the end of my life, and but I don't. I mean, I don't want to see it so badly that it is the end of my life. But
Yeah.
like in a distance,
Yeah, I used to be obsessed with them. I was scared to death of tornadoes when I was a kid, up until I saw the movie Twister, and then I became obsessed with them, and I wanted to be a storm chaser. And every time there was a tornado watch or warning, I was like in my backyard trying to see it. They'd be yelling, "Kenny, get in the house!"
Mm-hmm.
I was just obsessed.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was on.
I wanted to be Bill Paxton in Twister when I was like
Oh,
11 or 12.
yeah. Oh man. You choose any one of his movies, and it'd be pretty cool, because I don't know. I'm a big Paxton fan. I hated it when he died. So
Yeah,
many
that was
choices.
hard. When was that? Wasn't that like is that like 2017? I think
Three,
somewhere
four
around
years
there.
ago, maybe something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got a lot of good movies. A lot of good movies. Frailty is another one that he did. I love that movie. It's a great one.
Absolutely. A couple of weeks ago, we did a underrated horror, and that was at like number 4 on my list.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I seen that not long after it first come out, and nobody had heard of it at that point. That's about the time
Yeah.
that McConaughey started putting the shirt back on, and because he had that thing where he had to have the shirt off for years.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good movie. I've not seen it in a very long time. I got it on DVD, but I don't have a Blu-ray or anything. I would love it if they do like a 4K of that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I know your collection has grown like crazy. Mine was above yours, and now it's completely past me. Of course, my
I
financial.
don't even know what the count is. I know I
I'm
bought a
sorry.
new shelf, and then when I got everything up off the floor, like that whole shelf's filled now too. I was like, damn, now I need another shelf. um, but yeah, stuff's coming in like crazy.
Prisms in chat. Hello, GoreAphobe, and hello, Mid-Level Media.
Hey man, what's up? But yeah, it's kind of the curse of the channel, I guess. It's like I feel like I have to collect more because I'm on here talking about it so much. And when you're in it like this, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I want that and that and that. Oh, this person's showing that off, and you get in that social media bubble with everybody. You're just like, I got to get it all.
Yeah.
And it becomes I don't guess it's a problem. Some people are addicted to far worse things than collecting physical media. So I guess
Absolutely.
I'm okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you can afford to do it, that's cool. I was at a point where I could afford, and I was getting more than what I needed, really. So
Yeah.
I guess it was fate that I got calmed down a little bit because I was just getting crazy.
Yeah, I've tried to slow down on it. Not slow down, but move towards just grabbing stuff that I feel like I'm gonna watch like right away. I really try to watch everything that I get as soon as I get it. That doesn't always happen. Like if it's stuff I'm getting that's like during a sale, like the Kino sale, I won't watch that right away. But if it's like a new release, like RoboCop and Spider-Man came out this week, I've already watched both of those. So I got one more to watch. I try to keep up with what I get week to week.
Yeah, I seen your video, and you mentioned Passion of the Christ. I remember seeing that movie makes an impact.
Oh yeah, somebody sent me that subscriber mail. I guess
Mhm.
they want me to watch that one for Easter. Maybe I forgot. I forgot it completely. Forgot it was Easter when I was doing the video. But yeah,
All right. Yeah, I won't keep you too terribly long. Maybe 4 or 5 minutes to an hour if you got that for me. I got about 10 questions here, and thought we'd
Abs-
shoot the shit.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Um, I looked at you over the last year. You're almost like you're like like the underdog. You're like the Rocky of YouTube. You know what I mean? It's like you really, and I have a lot of respect for that. It's like when I first started watching, you were here, and then like I said, like I saw you before we went on. Next time I looked, you were at like nearly 10,000. I was like, holy crap! So I mean, it's just and it's not just me. There's a lot of people that are really proud of you and really admire what you've done on YouTube, man. Really.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, like I said, don't ask me how that happened, as I really don't know.
Hey,
I really don't
you
know.
got it, flaunt it, man.
Yeah, I just, one big thing I tell people is just be consistent. Like, and that's I made the decision about a year and a half ago. I'm gonna put out a video every single day,
That's
and
one thing I started doing.
it's
Yeah.
a crazy thing to think about, but or it's a little daunting.
Mhm.
Uh, but once you get into it, it's just this is what I got to do. Got to put a video out today. It's
Yeah, I kind of do that too. That was the problem with me is I would start to grow and then I wouldn't do it for a while. And then here a few months back, I took like 4 months off because I had some personal issues. But then
yeah.
since I started back and I've become consistent, it's a lot different. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I got real sick last December, and for about 2 weeks I couldn't do, but maybe like one or two videos, and it killed me to not be able to do this for that long. I think I went a whole week, which is the longest I've gone in like a year and a half
And once you start
without
doing
doing
it, you find
anything.
it's fun. You know what I mean? It is. It's fun. It builds.
Yeah,
I started doing it because I just needed like almost a year ago. May 4th, it will be a year since I started my channel. And I started because I just needed to be able to talk to people.
yeah,
My name is GoreAphobe because I'm actually an agoraphobic, which means I have a social disease. And
yeah.
a few years back, I spent 2 years in the house and wasn't able to leave my house for 2 years. So I've been trying to get better and get out of that. And starting a channel, I felt was a way to communicate. So
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, man. And I found that my social skills have improved since I've started doing YouTube and interacting with other people. Because I get, social anxieties and stuff like that, I guess is what they would call it now.
right.
I back in the day you would call it just being introverted. Uh, like you just didn't want to like I
Antisocial.
could always talk to people when I was younger, but I was always, I guess, shy is what you would say. Like I'm not the one that if we're in a social setting, I'm not going to run up to somebody and say, "Hey," and give them a high five or anything like that.
Right.
So I am very introverted. Um, so for a couple of years, I just needed an outlet to get like my thoughts and opinions on movies out there. I just needed something because I love them so much,
Mm-hmm.
and the people in my life weren't really giving me that outlet because nobody in my personal life is as big a movie fan as I am. If that makes any
Exactly.
sense. Um, so getting to go online and share my thoughts and opinions and then discover this whole community of people that loves movies, loves physical media was really cool. But for a while, I just did it on Instagram. I just did it in the written form. I would just write,
Mm-hmm.
stuff on there because the thought of coming up here and talking like this to you, to a bunch of people was
Mm-hmm.
terrifying. Like it made me so nervous. And you can go back and watch some of my early YouTube videos. I'm just very like, I look like I'm frozen on screen. I can barely talk. It's just like extremely shy and weird. Um, but yeah, I started to do this because it helped me get out of my shell. And that the first step was just getting in front of the camera and talking to myself and putting it up there on YouTube. Then the next step was starting to interact with people like this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the main reasons I started the world's biggest collector live stream. It was my way to kind of mingle with the other collectors and YouTubers out there and just start up a conversation with them. Something that I to be honest, I'm still nervous to this day to have somebody on that show. And before we go live, I always tell them like I'm super nervous right now. I always get real nervous to do a stream. I did a stream the other night with like 8 other people. Very nerve wracking, but that stream actually went pretty well. Um, but yeah, I definitely get nervous, and when I get nervous, I talk a lot too. So that's why I'm talking a lot right now.
Hey, hey, hey. Um, Anybody can be comfortable with me. I am. I always tell people two things about me. I'm always going to be honest with you, and I'm always going to be me. I can't help it. It's a curse. I have to be me.
Yeah.
But like when I made my first video, I must have made that first video 10 times before it's finally good enough and I wasn't screwing up to actually upload it. So,
Oh yeah. And that happens, man. That happens to me all the time. Like I literally restarted filming a video today 8 times because I messed up, and I got as far as like 10 minutes in before I just got frustrated and I was like, all right, delete. And then I got back into it again. The problem with that though is I'll forget what I've said and like what I've said in which cut of what I've talked about. Like if I've already talked about it 5 times in a row, I'm like, did I cover this in the past cuts or have I not talked about this yet? Because I don't, I usually don't do like a script or anything.
Me either.
Before I review. Sometimes I do. It depends. Sometimes it can help me. I'll have notes or something to follow, but a lot of the times I find that it hurts me more than it helps me. It gets me off track and gets me too inside my head because I'm reading from a script. So
right, and it ends up sounding like you're reading too at times. You know what I mean? And you don't want to come up with that.
Yeah, I try to do everything off the cuff, and sometimes that can have disastrous results also.
but once you get into a flow, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But there's the power in editing. You know, you can cut out all the bad spots.
That is true. That is my that's my fiance Gretchen. She says, "Hey y'all,
Hey.
Johnny from Johnny's Boutique Podcast. Good evening, gentlemen. Hope everyone is doing good, doing real
What's
good.
up, man?
Since we're not going to get killed in the storm, we're doing much better."
Yeah. And Johnny,
Jason,
he's really killing it with his channel. I've seen him doing
yes,
his, his streams with other people. He's really been going at it. So I've been joining a few of them.
yeah, we did a stream last night. As a matter of fact, on we did the Tuesday top 10 we always do, and Johnny was on there. It was a top 10 on greatest Italian horror.
Yep.
Jason Edwards says, "What's up, fellas?" Prism saying hello. Everybody's saying hello to everybody. What was sure you were in GoreAphobe? Today I'm going again with Mother's Day. Ken had a kick-ass Halloween shirt on earlier.
I forgot to put on my any kind of movie shirt. I'm just wearing my Adidas shirt because I was trying to walk and do a little running earlier, and I came inside and I meant to change my shirt. I can go change it now if I need to. I've got a clothes rack over there, but I still had this on because we got into the whole tornado stuff. So yeah, I'm still wearing my street clothes, as they say, not in my YouTube attire.
Drake's here. That's my son. In case you didn't know, when we do our streams, that's me and my oldest son.
Oh, that's awesome, man. My son has no interest in anything I do.
I'm both my.
Well, he's 11, so he's still got time.
My youngest is 15, and he's starting to do D&D and stuff like that and everything now, and he's got a wide range of interests. When you start out collecting, did you start with VHS, DVDs, Laserdisc, Blu-ray?
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people this, like back in the day when we were growing up, like we didn't really call it collecting. It was just everybody had a collection because that's what you had to do if you wanted to watch stuff.
Right.
So I wouldn't say I had a personal collection until I probably got to be like 15 or 16, and that's when DVD had been around a couple of years. So I would say I started my personal collection. Well, I feel like I also bought VHS tapes. I probably bought a mix of VHS tapes starting in like 1999, 2000, going into like the mid 2000s. I'm trying to remember when VHS became obsolete, but I remember going to Suncoast Videos, and I would still buy horror movies on VHS tape.
I think late 90s, early 2000 maybe is when they
somewhere around there. But I remember going. I would buy a lot of horror movies, and I would buy wrestling tapes. I buy all kinds of wrestling tapes. I used to be a big pro wrestling fan. So I still got a lot of those in the closet. I haven't really given my tapes away, so I've got a lot of horror movies. But I think I took some of my sister's collection. I guess it would have been her collection. She used to be subscribed to that Columbia House thing.
Me too.
You remember that back in the day where you like get 7 movies for a penny and then 3 movies for $1 and stuff like that. So she acquired a bunch of VHS tapes during that time period. So I think I've got some of hers in there as well. So yeah, I guess it started with a mix of VHS and DVD, probably probably like the late 90s, early 2000s. I'm going to be 37 this year. So I was born in 85. So I grew up on the VHS tapes.
I noticed a lot of the horror over the last year or so. I noticed a lot of the ones that you watch, like Zombie. You just seen that just a few months ago or so,
Yeah.
things like that. So, I mean, what was you a horror fan as a kid, or just was it like maybe mainstream?
I, I was a horror fan as a kid. I guess you would say I've been meaning to do a video on this for the longest time, but I can cover it right here. When I would become a fan of a certain movie or a franchise, that is all I would watch. When I would watch Freddy, Nightmare on Elm Street, I would just run through that franchise over and over again. And those are the only movies I would watch. Then I'd move on to Friday the 13th. Those are the only movies I watch. And then when I discovered Halloween, I would go through those. But I feel like, I mean, I've seen a lot of movies. I guess it was just because I would go, my mom would take me to the video rental store on the weekends, and I would go straight to the horror section because I loved horror probably at 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember going through several franchises. I guess it's just because some of those movies weren't there, and I didn't really have the opportunity to grow up on those.
Yeah.
Because I remember going through the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise. I remember going through Critters, Prom Night movies. I saw Sleepaway Camp, not Sleepaway Camp, the first one. I don't know if they didn't have that one, but I remember watching Sleepaway Camp 2
I love Sleepaway Camp too.
before I saw the first one. I know I rewatched that one a couple of years ago. I was like, damn, this is really good. I like that one.
It's fun,
Um,
you know what I mean? It
the
is a
first
black.
one, the first one has that certain charm to it, and that ending is wild as hell. But I think the second one's definitely a better slasher. Um, yeah, Sleepaway Camp 2. I also remember watching Prom Night 2 before I watched the first Prom Night. Also, all the Howling movies. So I guess it was just I remember renting out the whole section. So I guess it was just the horror movies that they had are the ones that I watched. So the Italian horror movies like Zombie. Yeah, I just didn't really, I guess, know that stuff. I just didn't know of that stuff. I guess like I've always been a horror fan, but I guess I haven't been like a horror fan that like that. I
like
guess
like deep
like
into it.
super deep into it, getting on the horror forums and all that kind of stuff to be able to discover this stuff.
Like
So
me.
yeah, it's like now I'm discovering it because I'm super into physical media, and all of these boutique labels are putting out all of these re-releasing all these horror movies on Blu-ray and 4K, and I'm just discovering them all for the first time because I've finally got um a reason to. Like there's something that's pulling me towards them now that wasn't before.
Yeah, and thank God for the boutique labels keeping what we do alive, because I don't know what I'd do if it went completely obsolete. You know what I mean? I mean, that's a big
Yeah.
fear of mine. You know what I
It's
mean?
really cool. It's really cool what they're doing because again, like there's a lot of people out there that are like me, I'm sure, that might have been horror fans, but maybe they were only super into the mainstream stuff when they were kids, and now they're discovering all of this through physical media. So that's like the main reason why I love collecting this stuff is for that.
Ben Grimm says, Ken's from the streets.
I'm from the country.
And he says, my first DVD was Sleepy Hollow. Bought that and a PS2 with my first check and my first job. Adrian James says, hey there, Ken.
Hey, Adrian. Hey, yo, Adrian.
Hello, how you doing? Yeah,
That's pretty good.
I'm actually wanting to cover the Rocky franchise. I love the Rocky. Oh yeah, I've
I
done a
need to watch it.
Rocky imitation for years.
I just watched all the Rambos this week. I was blown
First
away.
Blood
I
is,
loved them.
First Blood is fantastic.
Oh yeah,
It's
man. That's world class. That might be his best movie. I don't know. I haven't decided. I love Rocky though. I have to go back and rewatch those. As soon as I go back and rewatch the Rockies, I'll be like, these are his best movies. Because right now I'm on a Rambo kick.
Rocky
Um,
1 and 2, man, are just there embedded in my soul. First two Rocky
yeah,
films.
yeah.
Those, I mean, man. Um, when did you first decide to get because you said you had a channel for a while. I mean, what made you decide, hey, I'm just gonna do this? You know what I mean? I'm gonna get serious about this and I'm gonna start kicking some ass. When did that cross your mind?
Um, I would say I don't know about ever thinking I would kick any ass. But I would say I
Well, we
started
all do.
getting serious as far as like I'm gonna come up with a schedule and I'm at least gonna put out 1 to 2 videos a week.
Mm.
Probably at the beginning of 2020. I want to say with the pandemic.
Right.
And that's a lot of people too that'll say that because we were all stuck at home.
Mm.
I mean, I never stopped working or anything. My place did shut down or nothing. But we couldn't go out anymore and do that kind of stuff. Everybody was just kind of hanging out and developing. That's when it felt like the community really developed. So I had like many ideas of what I wanted to do with the channel when I was first starting off. Like when I got into Instagram, I was just reviewing movies,
Yeah.
just like new movies that would come out, and I would review old ones also. So when I started the channel, obviously I'm into, collecting movies too, but it was a mix. Like I remember reviewing Sonic, going to the theaters to see that. And I was reviewing like The Invisible Man. So I was doing like movie reviews. I was doing unboxing videos, just that kind of stuff. And then when the pandemic hit and we lost all the movies, there was no new stuff coming out. Like there was the occasional movie on streaming. I was
Mm.
like, I just need to go like full on into physical media because that was still going strong at that time. Like we were getting announcements for Jaws coming out and The Mask of Zorro in 4K. Just still a bunch of cool stuff. Friday the 13th box set was announced like shortly after that. I was like, so I was just trying to think about some things I wanted to do. And I really liked the idea of just commentating on like new releases that were coming out and just letting everybody know like all the new releases for the week and all that and just kind of reacting to it. So that's where the physical media report was kind of born. And
Do
that
you?
was the kind of like the anchor for the channel for a while because that was the one video that I would do every week that I knew I had to do and get done because I felt the responsibility to get that one done. And so I had that for a while. And I don't know when you discovered my channel, but I actually did a horror show in the very early stages too, because I love physical media, but I loved horror. So my 2 shows that I came up with were the Physical Media Report and The Haunting of Mid-Level. And The Haunting of Mid-Level would be just me talking about like movie news for horror, like horror movie news and stuff, and
Mm.
reacting to it. I remember like covering the HBO Hellraiser show when it was announced and the Exorcist reboot. So only people that have been subscribed to me since back in early 2020 probably remember that. I did like 7 episodes of it. Not a lot of people watched it. And to be honest, it took me a really long time to make it and
Yeah.
edit it and all that stuff. So I scrapped that and just went full on into physical media. That was probably like the last thing I did that was not physical media related was
Yeah.
that.
I discovered you and 4KD. I let's say like spring or like I don't know. I would say early 2021, maybe sometime in there, but fall, maybe a little over a year ago. Before that, I had watched Phil and Horntage and
Yeah.
Drum Dums and people like that. And then when
Yep.
I come across you guys, and you guys started doing that battle, and then I got into that and decided that that I wanted to do that. And then I said, "Well, hell, I'm just going to start a channel." And then by the way, with that battle, the last I heard of that, you had broken your losing streak. You was like 0-3 or something like that, and you finally won one. And from then, I've heard that you've actually won quite a few.
I won the whole tournament. I won
Yeah,
it was September, it was August and September. So I won that tournament. So I won 4 matches in that tournament. So now I am 4-3. Is that how you say it? I've won 4 and I've lost 3.
right.
Won 4 and
Remember,
I've
you came
lost
out
3.
to an entrance and everything too. You had like music playing. You came out like a wrestler.
I always try to add a little bit of showmanship to it.
That's what my
Because
intros are for.
I talked to 4KD Ray when he was first coming up with the idea,
Uh-huh.
and I was in the first match, and the way I've always looked at it is it's like a pro wrestling version of it's a physical media battle or whatever that is. But I know he's a big pro wrestling fan, so the heart of pro wrestling is embedded in the physical media battles.
That's
So
cool.
I like to bring that to it whenever I'm in it. Now tomorrow night, I don't know if I'm going to do an entrance. I don't know how I would do an entrance with me and Tony. So I'll probably just I'll probably just come out. But yeah, I definitely like to do those on special occasions.
Yeah, I was just cracking up, and that's the first thing I thought.
Well,
What's
it's
what's that
stupid to
saying?
anybody else, but I like to I like
Oh
to put it on
no,
good. A lot of people will look at that and they'll be like, "Oh, Ken's so stupid and all this stuff. Why is he doing that silly stuff?" And I'll be like,
it's
"Because
entertainment.
it's fun, and
Yeah.
I don't care to make an ass of myself to entertain people. I don't care
Yeah.
about that at all. I have no sense of self importance at all. I have no self esteem. It doesn't matter.
You can tell you're having fun, and,
Yeah,
and that's what's important. You know what I mean? That's what this is all about to me.
yeah,
It's about having a good time, and sharing interests.
yeah.
So but yeah, I'll check that out. He's got me scheduled, I think, for maybe early May or something like that.
I was
Hopefully, I'm
wondering
getting
why, because you told me why before we came on air, I think. But I was wondering why you weren't in that battle because I remember it being promoted, you and Phil, and I clicked on it, went in there. I was like, it was David Tor. I'm like, where's GoreAphobe at?
I could not get in. I mean, he said he could see me in the studio, but I could not get in, and I couldn't find out it was because I went through Instagram. I don't know what the problem was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So next time we won't have that problem because I'm looking forward to that for sure. Um,
Absolutely.
you was talking about your collection. How at last count, how many did you have?
Yeah, God, I really don't know. It has to be at least over 2,000. That's if I'm counting all my DVDs and stuff too.
Wow.
Because I've got the 3 shelves that all hold, I don't know, like 600 a piece. I don't have those like full all the way, but I would say at least between those two, it's 1,000 to 1,100, and then you got those 2 boutique shelves. That's got to be another 300 or something, and then that whole shelf. Um, and then I got a bunch of stuff on the floor. I got this bin full of Dollar Tree stuff over here. It has to be like 2,200 or something, somewhere around there, I would say.
Very cool. If there would have been a tornado tonight, and you had, of course, you get your family and everything out first, and the pets and everything, make sure they're safe, and you could save one item in that room, what would it be?
I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that before the tornado
Oh,
hit.
I definitely get you. I definitely get you because I thought about that several times. I thought about popping the window open and start throwing stuff out if the place is ever on fire.
It's weird, but or it may sound weird, but I'm gonna grab a DVD box set, and it's gonna be my Nightmare on Elm Street DVD box set. I'm grabbing that. That's the most important thing in my collection to me because most everything else I can rebuy. I can't really. Well, I could probably rebuy that on eBay or something, but I'll never have that Elm Street set that I bought myself with my own money from
Right.
Suncoast Video back in 2004, and it's been with me since then. And I've watched all the movies on DVD since I bought that. Now I had multiple ones on VHS as well. I think actually I've only got the first one on VHS, and I've got Dream Warriors, and I might have Freddy's Dead on VHS, and then the other ones. I don't know if you did this back in the day, but like my aunt and grandma would rent movies from Blockbuster, and they would tape them on tapes.
Yes.
They would like record them on tape. So I think I had Dream Master and Dream Child on a VHS tape together, and it was like one of those recorded deals.
Yeah.
And then I think I had New Nightmare recorded on another tape with a couple other movies, I think. So that's how I watched all the Elm Street movies when I was a kid.
I got the first 7 on VHS of those. So all
Yeah,
no,
I
the
wish I had
first
them all. I
6.
honestly would like to, because I think I knew people that had that collection set, the Freddy's, the box set. I never owned that though. Never owned it.
Ben Grimm says you should come out as the Undertaker in tribute.
I could. I could. I'll be making my return tomorrow, so there's gotta be something important going on.
See, Jerry says, "Yeah, I'm ready for a war." Mid-basement Blues is a good tag team, tough to beat.
I gotta be honest, Jerry, man, you're intimidating me. I'm gonna be honest. He's doing that walk. He's super serious. He's just like, hey, I'm
He's
gonna
the one that's got all the screen factories, isn't he?
I'm
It's
gonna
like every
tear
screen
I'm gonna
factory.
tear mid basement blues up tomorrow night. They ain't nothing. Their ass is grass, and I'm the lawnmower. Saying that he's crazy, man. I'm scared. I'm scared.
Ben Grimm says, "Do you use an app to keep track?" I assume he's talking about your.
Look, I did, download the Blu-ray.com app So I started to do that back when I was reorganizing my collection, and I got through like the first shelf, and I was like, this is taking too long. I
I
don't
thought
feel like
about
doing
doing it,
this.
but I just didn't do it.
I'm pretty good, like in my brain, as far as like knowing what I have. I haven't really ever double dipped. I think the only thing I double dipped on was a movie called Gotti with John Travolta.
Okay, good.
And I haven't even seen it, but I've heard horrible things about it. But I bought it at a Goodwill, and then I bought it again at a Dollar Tree. So I got 2 copies of Gotti in the collection.
I have double dipped so much that I have a show dedicated to it. That's a compulsive collector, and it's called multiple dipping, and I got 3
And you
shows so
didn't
far.
intend to do it? You didn't intend to do it?
Actually on some movies I did.
Yeah.
Like
I was just
like
I
the
double
8 or
dip all
9
the time,
Halloweens.
but it's rare that I unintentionally double dip or intentionally. Yeah, unintentionally. That's the right
For,
word.
for movies that I truly love, I want every great edition of it.
Yep. Yeah.
But only those. You're not going to see me get just any 10 copies of just anything.
But to Ben Grimm's point, he said need to make a tornado shelter just for the. So my this room is in my basement. It's in the center of my house. Like it's in the basement in the center of my house. So this is like a bunker for my physical media. I already had that planned out.
Oh, that's cool.
And I actually shut my door when the tornado came right before I went into the closet over there, just so everything would be okay.
We all have that thought. We all have that. It's like make sure to get the family together. And oh my God, what about my collection? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's next after the family.
I guess I also just always have the mindset that it's not going to hit my house. I'll be okay. So I don't like really freak out about it, and in that way. I try to be an optimist, I guess, when it comes to that.
The Howling or American Werewolf in London?
Oh, isn't that the age-old question? I was just thinking about that the other day too. I'm an American Werewolf in London guy. But it does seem to be a thing that you're either an American Werewolf in London guy or you're a Howling guy. And I've watched them both again recently, and the Howling's great. I probably saw the Howling before I saw American Werewolf in London because I remember watching the whole franchise on VHS from the rental store. But yeah, American Werewolf. I just don't think you beat that transformation scene. And I just like the mix of tones. I like there's a little bit of comedy. There's some drama, some romance, definitely some horror. It's a lot of different things. It's kind of the total package, and there's really not a lot of movies like that. I just think John Landis really did a incredible job with it. But The Howling is awesome. It's real, gritty and dark and dingy and disgusting. That transformation scene's something too. But what I don't like about it is that it's in the dark and you can't see it as well. At least the main one. And with American Werewolf in London, you see it all because the room's lit up.
Well, you had Rick Baker, and he was experienced. He'd been doing it a long time. And then you had his protege and Rob Bottin, and I think it was dark for a reason. I mean, he was still young. I think he was 18 when he did that movie. So I mean, that's pretty damn good work for 18 years old.
But I love them both. I really want to get that Howling Scream Factory, but I stopped myself from getting it because I got the Studio Canal Steelbook, but I do want that Scream Factory. I might end up grabbing it for sure. But yeah, it's amazing. Both those movies came out in the same year. Like that's nuts, freaking nuts.
As far as The Shining goes, are you a Shining fan?
I'm a big Shining fan. That's currently my number 2 favorite horror movie.
That's always been in my top 3 in my whole life. I love it. Okay, Stephen King's book, The Shining, or Stanley Kubrick's movie, The Shining?
See, I've read a lot of Stephen King. I used to be an avid reader when I was younger. Like I would say I read my first Stephen King book at like 10 or 11, and it was It. So I read It, but I never read The Shining. That was the one I didn't read. So look, I know Stephen King's got problems with The Shining. But it's a masterpiece of a movie. And, I don't really care if it deviates from the source material. A lot of adaptations do, because you can't take everything from the book and adapt it over. And I'm sure he just took what he thought was interesting and left out some of the other stuff and made it his own. And
He
honestly, I
intentionally
think
did
that's
that.
what you should do,
Yeah.
because not all books work as a movie. And there's no arguing that what he did with the source material was incredible. Um, so yeah, I haven't read the book, so I can't really say one or the other, but I do know The Shining's a masterpiece. So
Yeah, I have read it, and I much prefer the movie. I mean, I have respect for the book, but I just love that show so much that
yeah,
you just can
I
top
mean,
it.
I know the hotel burns down at the end of it, right? Like that's the big.
And yeah,
Um,
and the hedges are like animals and and they come to life
Yeah,
and
see,
stuff like
Stephen
that.
King just put all kinds of crazy ass shit in his books because he was high on cocaine most of the time back then. Like the whole Chud thing with it, like the big turtle in space. Like, you can't put that in a movie. Come on. They tried to, they did their best in the new ones.
Yeah,
But yeah, come on. Like, a movie and book, it's two different things. Stephen King should know that. He's smart enough to know that. I just think he got a little upset with that particular adaptation.
yeah, but actually, in the last couple of years, he's actually warmed up to it a little bit. Actually, he's kind of changed his mind just a little.
Yeah, because it's that fucking good of a movie.
Right,
Like,
right.
it's so good. Every time I watch that movie, before I watch it, I'm like, is it really that good? And then every time I turn it on, I've seen the movie like 20 times. I just get sucked right into it, and nothing can take my attention away from it. I'm just sucked into that world. The atmosphere gets me every time. I get the chills. I get creeped out. Jack Nicholson's performance is just so engrossing.
Yeah.
And I love Shelley Duvall in the movie too. She's
Mhm.
fantastic. Like everybody in that movie is so great. Scatman Crothers, everybody. Love it.
Oh yeah. Have you seen the remake? The made for television?
I did. I remember watching that in the 90s. I haven't seen it since. But when I watched it in the 90s, I was like, oh my God, this is crap compared to the one that I know and love. Um,
Exactly.
but I remember the book adaptation that I had of it was the TV cover because I remember buying it at Walmart or something at the time when the TV version came out. So I might still have the book with, I don't know the actor's name, but who played Jack Torrance in the TV version, but he's on the cover of the book Shining that I own.
That's Steven Weber from Wings.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I knew he was from Wings. I did
Yeah,
know that.
Steven
Doctor
Weber.
Sleep though too. I'm a big fan of. I'm a big fan of Doctor Sleep. I thought that movie was excellent and probably the best case scenario for a sequel to a 40-year-old horror movie
My
or a
fiance
classic.
actually likes it better than The Shining.
I've
My
heard
fiance,
people say that, and I don't think I could ever have that take.
me either.
But I don't. I'm not going to say you're crazy for thinking that either. I'm not
Right. I
going to say
mean,
you're
it is
crazy.
well
It's a
done.
damn good movie.
Yes, yes, it is. And Erickson in the house, he says, "Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Cause is here." Anybody else? Eric says, "I'm a big Shining fan, but Eric prefers Doctor Sleep too, and he
Yeah,
loves."
not as I love the ending of it, just how they tie in the Overlook and stuff. Like people could say that that's like fan service or whatever, but I was
Yeah.
just so invested in it. I loved all the new characters. I love it. Rose the Hat was like the best villain of that year. I feel like um, she was.
Yes.
I forget the actress's name, Rebecca Ferguson. She was freaking amazing.
Yes. Yes. I thought actually we could have used a little bit more of her actually.
Yeah,
You
because
know.
that's the one thing. The Shining didn't really have. I mean, you could say Jack Torrance is the villain, I guess, but it didn't really have that like villainous character.
Right.
It was just the hotel that was
Yeah.
taken over.
I think that movie, as far even on YouTube, has the most theories of any movie I've ever seen. You can go anywhere and
Oh
see
yeah.
100 theories on YouTube. I mean, be overloaded with them. Ben Grimm says 80s channel on Pluto TV playing a Stallone marathon. They must have heard.
They must have. They must have. Not, I think it's just because Stallone's like one of the most popular actors of all time. So everybody's trying to capitalize off of that.
I haven't seen the new cut of Rocky 4 yet, but I'm really wanting to check it out.
I haven't seen it either. I was gonna wait till because I heard they were supposed to release a 4K of that, which is crazy that they put out a 4K of Rocky 4 before they did the first one. Um,
Uh-huh.
but yeah,
Yeah,
I guess I would take it either way.
yeah. So that Nightmare on Elm Street would be my next question was going to be what's your holy grail item? So that's what it would be. Would be the
Yeah,
not
but
round two
I
sets.
could maybe come up with something different.
As far as boutique, I mean, as far as the thing that you know what I mean, you paid way too much for, but you love it anyway. We all have those.
I mean, both my Columbia Classics Volume 1 and Volume 2 sets, like the first one's worth like $400 now because you can't get it anywhere.
Mm,
So maybe that or my Guest. Have you ever seen the movie The Guest?
yes.
So I got that second sight release. That's a really nice edition. Um, but yeah, that I got that Rambo Steelbook set from a subscriber not too long ago. I love that. So any one
Second
of
sight is
those.
incredible. Second sight, I love second sight, and you know what I mean. Their
Oh yeah.
quality control is great.
I've got 2 pre-orders in that I've already paid for, which is definitely taking a little stress off because I paid for them a couple months ago. But the Drive 4K set and the Witch 4K set because I love the Witch are both. I think the Witch got delayed till June, but Drive's supposed to come out in May.
Hmm. I watched Old yesterday. Have you seen Old yet?
Yeah, me and my wife saw that in theaters last. I think it came out in July. It was okay.
Yeah.
It was
You
okay.
like Shyamalan?
Overall, yes. I like Shyamalan because his movies aren't always the best, but like he's always coming up with original ideas, and I respect that because there's not a lot of people in Hollywood that are coming up with original ideas.
Yeah.
And I think the only adaptation he has is Avatar: The Last Airbender, which everybody would say is his worst movie. But um, yeah, I mean everything else is original. Even if he doesn't hit it out of the park, like the ideas are always interesting. Um,
And he
so
sticks to his guns.
even with old, like I thought that I wouldn't say it's like a twist, but like the reveals and stuff at the end, I thought were really interesting.
Yeah.
Um, it's just they went a little bit too far with it. I wish they would have stopped at a certain point instead of they just kept on like revealing new stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but the movie was like you could look at some of the acting and just laugh at it because it's so bad. Um, but it's still an interesting movie. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. But the Signs is probably in my top 25 movies of all time. I love that movie. I saw it in theaters like 4 times the summer it came out.
Yes.
Um, I just got my driver's license, and all I wanted to do was go watch Signs over and over again. I remember I watched it, I think, before I went into work every day.
Yeah. That's when I first became a fan of Joaquin Phoenix. Is on
Yeah,
that movie.
Joaquin Phoenix. That was one of his first. I know he had done Gladiator by that point, which I probably saw him in that, but I feel like he, as a performer, he really shined in Signs. And it's honestly one of Mel Gibson's best performances, and he's done a lot. He's done a lot of movies, but I think his performance in that he gets me every time. The chills and stuff. I love
When
him.
they're sitting at the kitchen table and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that whole scene. It's sad, and yeah, Mel Gibson just. I know he's a little controversial and he's done some controversial things, but like as an actor, like there's really not a lot of people that are better than him as far as
right.
like eliciting an emotional response out of you. Like when he starts to cry, like you can feel that. Like he's just
Yeah.
really good.
Oh yeah. Um, who do you watch? I mean, do you ever just sit and watch people on YouTube like just I mean just sit and watch certain people's videos? I mean, who on like
Um,
say each night of the week, who do you watch?
See, I try to, like I said, I try to support everybody, but it's really hard to get around, and
Yeah.
and I'm subscribed to so many people, and I'm constantly seeing everybody's videos pop up. So I try to, click on stuff when I see it,
Right.
um, and do what I can. I'm trying to think if there's. I don't watch a ton of like mainstream people anymore. I'm trying to think if there's somebody. I've been watching this really cool channel lately. It doesn't have anything to do with like movies. Well, it does kind of because sometimes it ties it in, but it's called Professor of Rock, and he just talks about like old music from like the 70s and 80s and stuff, which I'm kind of
Yeah.
into right now, and how music was just a whole lot better back then.
Oh, it definitely was. Trust me. And
So
and
I've been digging that channel. But yeah, I mean, pretty much anybody I've had, on my channel I watch, I've watched some of your streams before. I just try to, when I'm on YouTube, I try to get around and support the community is really what I focus on now. I don't really watch a lot of bigger YouTubers anymore. I'm still subscribed to a lot of them, and I see it when Spider-Man comes out, and there's 500 reviews of Spider-Man going down my feed.
Right.
But I can't, I can't watch all of them. Can't watch all that, and I don't really watch a lot of reviews, at least, especially if I haven't even seen the movie yet.
Right.
I don't really like to do that, even if it's
There's
a
no,
non-spoiler.
there's really no such thing. When you can write down to it, there's no such thing because anytime I was watching somebody on here and they talk about there's no such thing as a non-spoiler review because anything you say about the movie puts an idea in your head
Yeah,
and that's a spoiler. You
yeah,
know what I
that's
mean? So,
absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Because you can say even if you say that I didn't like the ending, like okay, well now I'm expecting a shit ending. you know,
or this one part was great, and then you get to that part and you don't find it as great. You know what I mean? It's like that's what they were talking about. So it
yeah,
it just puts expectations in your mind, basically.
yeah.
You talk about '80s music. What is your favorite '80s music? I'm definitely curious.
I mean, I used to be more into like the metal hair band stuff like Poison and Def Leppard and Metallica. I've always loved.
Yeah.
Um,
First
Here
four of them.
recently, I've gotten more into. I don't know if you would say the poppier side of it, but I've been really digging listening to like Robert Palmer, Huey Lewis and the News, um, Prince. I love Prince. I
Oh,
listen to
yeah.
a lot. I used to. Some people would say I like Prince better than Michael Jackson. I would be like, I don't know about that. Michael Jackson's got a lot of bangers, but the more I listen to Prince, I'm like, he might be better than Michael Jackson. He's got a lot of good stuff too. So that's kind of the stuff I'm digging now. I'll just put it on an 80s playlist. Some of them I don't even know who sings it because some of those bands are like one hit wonders. But
Yeah.
I like a lot of stuff from that era. Tears for Fears. Um, it just that time period. It just transports you back. A lot of the
That
movies
was,
I love came out in that era.
mhm.
I do love like 90s music as well, like the grunge rock and stuff like that. That's what I grew up on,
Yeah.
like Nirvana and Alice in Chains and
Yeah, I
um,
like it. It just took some. To me, it just took. The '80s had just this fun vibe about it. The only thing I don't like
yeah.
about the grunge is they cut. It's good music, but it cut a lot of the fun away. You know,
It cut
the
a lot
'80s
of the
got
fun.
too
It was a little
fun.
darker, a little depressing. They didn't play their instruments nearly as well in the 90s as they did in the 80s. It didn't feel like there was as much talent there. Um, but I liked, in high school, I liked bands like Incubus and Tool. Those are some of my favorite bands. Stained, I used to love. I saw them in concert. Godsmack, Limp Bizkit, Korn. Like that's all the stuff I listened to in like middle school and high school because that's what was super popular around that time period.
I'll turn 49 next month. So when during my time, it was, like you said, Metallica, Twisted Sister, Motley Crue, all of them were going crazy.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
um, that's also when I first got into wrestling was in the '80s. Who's your favorite wrestler from the '80s?
Um, See, I didn't watch it in the 80s, but I have watched all the WrestleManias going back, so I would probably say Macho Man was the most fun to watch just of all the stuff that I've seen. Um, I definitely gravitate to his matches whenever I watch the old school stuff. Um, so yeah, I started watching wrestling, like really watching it and being into it in the Attitude Era, so probably like 97,
Yeah,
98. I was probably like 12 or 13 when I started watching it. Like, and
yeah, Stone
that's,
Cold
I
guy.
watched it a little bit when I was younger. Like, I remember seeing Hulk Hogan on TV and stuff, but I didn't like really get into it. Like, I got to be watching Monday Night Raw every single week until like Austin and Rock and all them started to come in. They started tearing it up. Like, that's when it became super interesting to me.
Austin or The Rock?
Oh, that's really tough. It's incredible that they both existed at the same time because there will never be another one of either one of those two. Like
Right.
they're one of a kind, and they both came up in the same era. Like Hulk Hogan was the big guy in the 80s and early 90s, but then you had The Rock and Austin come up at the exact same time. Then after that, it was John Cena. Now I don't even know who the hell it is. Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, whatever.
Reigns, I
Um,
believe. Yeah.
um, but it was just interesting that both of them popped and they were huge at the exact same time. I I would I guess I lean towards Stone Cold. Um, It just felt like there was a little bit more depth there
Yeah,
and
yeah.
a little bit more soul.
Well,
Like
and
when,
the Rock adjusted too. There's different levels of the Rock. You know, you got
yeah,
the $500 shirt and the sideburns, and then you got when he shaved his head. You know what I mean? So there's different levels. Like he was a different guy
they're
each
both
every 2 3
just
months.
so damn good. But if I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm in the front row of WrestleMania,
Right.
who am I going to pop bigger for when they come down that ramp? It's probably Stone Cold. He's probably going to get me hyped, or more hyped than The Rock. They would both get me hyped, but Stone Cold just had that I don't
Yeah.
give a fuck badass energy to come down. He's strutting down to the ring, that fucking music blaring, cracks the beers, pours them all over himself. I remember doing that shit in high school, trying to
Yeah.
emulate him. I don't know. There was just something about him, just that attitude. It was just
We
unlike
did
any other. But The Rock was great too.
we did a greatest wrestlers of all time top 10 on Tuesday, 2 3 weeks ago, and in my top three I had Macho Man at number one, I had Bret Hart at number two, and I had Stone Cold at number three. So that's my
Yeah.
all-time favorites.
Yeah. See, I wish I would have. I know Bret Hart was an amazing wrestler, but I never felt like I got that level of personality from him,
Yeah.
like I did everybody else. And I'm a big Shawn Michaels fan. I
Hmm.
wasn't back in the '90s, but
Right.
when he made his return in
Right.
2002, like that is an incredible run, especially for an aging wrestler.
Yes.
The stuff that he did from 2002 to 2010 when he retired with the Undertaker,
Hmm.
that's one of the most incredible runs in wrestling history, I think,
That's true.
especially for somebody at his age.
That is true.
He did a lot of great stuff during that time.
Yeah. 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 Like you're saying, in the late '90s, I liked Bret Hart. So with what happened,
Yeah.
with
Well,
the
Shawn
screw
was a
job.
dick in the '90s. Everybody knows that. He'll even say that.
So it was impossible for me to like him then. But you're right. When he came back, he had grown up. He'd found Christianity,
Yeah.
and he wasn't quite the same asshole.
Like
So
him
yeah,
and Jericho at WrestleMania 19. You had him and Kurt fighting at WrestleMania 21, I think. Like those were incredible matches.
how Kurt
Both the
Angle.
matches you did with the Undertaker were like some of the best of all time, and both of those are like some of the best feuds I've ever remember seeing in wrestling. Um, yeah, he did all kinds of good stuff, and he worked with everybody. Like he could work so good with anybody. Didn't matter who it was, big, small, um, in the middle.
9 out of 10 wrestlers will say he's the greatest in-ring performer of all time. So
Yeah.
um, missed a whole bunch of chat here. I've been getting into talking to you so much, I missed the whole chat. But I'm getting ready to let you go, Ken. I don't want to keep you too long, but I just want to talk to you and get to know you a little bit and ask you some of these questions and let everybody else know some of these questions. I don't know. Has anybody else ever asked you any of these questions or?
Um, no, probably not. Probably not.
I
I'm
try to
trying to
come up
think.
with some
I'm
really good
sure I
ones.
came. I'm sure I got them at some point somewhere, probably in a chat or something, in one of my streams,
Yeah, I try
something
to go
like
different
that.
with the wrestlers and stuff like that. Just to show just a different side.
Yeah,
But
but no, man, I'm good for another half hour or so. If you want to, get through the chat and you got other questions to ask, I'm good.
well,
I ain't got too much going on. I just got to record a review for RoboCop.
right. Well, I'm kind of out of questions. I don't know. I guess we just BS for another couple of minutes. Here. Let me go through the chat and see if we can come up with anything. Oh man, yeah, it's been crazy the last few minutes. Phil's in the chat. Um,
Phil.
um, Lopke Vision Films. Ken, Kenny Level's got a haircut, mid-level haircut.
I know I'm debuting my haircut here on this stream. I forgot about that. People flip out when I get a haircut because I let it grow for so long.
Yeah, mine's crazy right now, so I have to keep my head covered.
You see, I'm getting older, and I'm afraid that every time I get a cut, it's not going to come back. So that's why I always wait. You're always taking that risk every time you get a haircut.
Well, we started talking wrestling, and the chat went crazy. Yeah, Piper. Yeah, you can't forget about Piper. I was shocked when he died. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I knew that he had his problems, but then he got healthy. And I've noticed that happens. When somebody, they become, they're drug addict or they drink. As soon as they get clean, they die not too long after.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
true.
that's crazy. It's like the body didn't know how to adjust or something. I think that is crazy because the whole point of getting clean is so that you're healthy and so that you don't die, right?
Yeah, some of them just do it for so long that it's just almost impossible for it to take it back.
Yeah.
They've already done that damage to their bodies.
Drake says Kurt and Sean and Jericho and Sean are all-time classics. Kurt and Sean and Jericho and Sean are all-time classics. And take your pick on the Taker and Sean matches. That's true. Those two in a row were both great.
I was always, I know that technically the one they did at 25 was the best match that Taker and Sean did, but I was always partial to the one they did at 26 where Sean got retired because that one just had more stakes and more emotion to it. I remember watching that and just being blown away by what happened and just how it happened, and it was amazing. That one and the Ric Flair retirement match, which I saw live.
Oh, you were there?
I was there because it was in Orlando, and we drove down. I went to 2 WrestleManias. I went to 22 with Cena and Triple H main evented, and I went to 24 down in it was in Florida. It was Orlando. I believe it was in Orlando.
Okay.
But yeah, that was a good one.
Scott Hall, what'd you think about the Scott Hall when Scott Hall died?
Definitely sad. I'll be honest though, I didn't really grow up, with Scott Hall, so it didn't hit me like I'm sure it did other people.
Yeah.
Like I remember going back and watching some Scott Hall matches, him and Shawn Michaels, the ladder matches and all that stuff. But I was always a big WWE guy, WWF, and I did not watch a lot of WCW even when NWO was at their height. I just always viewed it as like the lesser. And I think when I got into it, like they had already pretty much peaked, and that kind of spawned the Attitude Era. Because I think NWO came around in like 96. So my memories of Scott Hall are the matches that he had with Shawn Michaels and some of the other ones. I'm sure I've seen him and X-Pac. I remember the one where X-Pac debuted. And then the crap match that he had with Stone Cold at WrestleMania 18, which was god awful. And both of them deserved a lot better, but I don't think either one of them were really into it at the time.
Well, after the Hogan Rock match, you know what I mean. It's really a good thing they didn't go after the Rock and Hogan, because that was a really good, as far as entertainment value goes. That was really good.
Yeah, talk about deflating the room, like Triple H and Jericho main evented. All right, followed the Rock and Hulk Hogan. Come on.
Yeah, that was I mean, and technically it wasn't that great of a match. It was just, you know what I mean. It just had it. You know what I mean. Hey, good idea, Phil. I'll start taking questions for Ken from the chat. Phil says, Ken, if you could have a lunch hour with any actor, living or dead, who would it be?
It's always a tough one to answer.
If anyone's got questions, go ahead and ask.
See, whenever I get a question like this, I always think to myself, damn, if I had a lunch with any like famous person, I would be so intimidated, and I probably wouldn't even ask anything, and I would just be sitting there in silence, just in awe that they were talking to me. I'm trying to think of somebody that I feel like would be easy to talk to and also interesting.
Will Smith?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely Will Smith.
Well, you don't slap you, huh?
I want to mediate Will Smith and Chris Rock. Let's see. I mean, John Carpenter would be cool. Wes Craven, I feel like Wes Craven would be really warm and welcoming. Make you feel welcome and probably be easy to talk to. And there'd be a lot of, cool questions I could probably think to ask him about the making of Nightmare on Elm Street and just his career and the development of it and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go with Wes Craven.
Cool.
Also, Quentin Tarantino might be pretty cool. I feel like he would just talk the whole time and you wouldn't even be able to get in a word.
Yeah, he is probably the coolest movie nerd there's ever been. You know what I mean? Because we're all nerds, but Tarantino was like this brilliant. They say that his intelligent level is just like through the roof.
Oh yeah.
The Burning or Friday the 13th Part 2?
Friday the 13th Part 2. I'm not a huge Burning fan. It's okay, but I think it has a really good kill with the hedge clippers, but
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what's interesting about The Burning, and it blew my mind when I first watched it, but it's like written by the Weinstein brothers.
Yes.
So it's like
Yeah.
Harvey Weinstein. That was like the first movie that he worked on. And it's definitely its treatment of like women and young girls in the movie like
Uh-huh.
is pretty like gratuitous, and like you can like even more so than I believe Friday the 13th is. So you can kind of see where that maybe started.
But
I don't know.
like what's his name? And his harassment of like he harasses her. Like,
Like he's the big one. Like he's the guy that they said assaulted like 100 women or something.
yeah, it's
But I've always
crazy.
found that interesting when I think about that. So yeah, I mean Cropsey as a horror icon or villain just isn't really that interesting to me. Like his backstory just felt kind of silly. I don't know. He doesn't have that
Right.
emotional weight that Jason does. Because Jason, those movies can be silly too, but like what happened to him and him getting revenge for his mother, like that's it's pretty profound as far as
I
like a horror character origin story.
I think the early Final Girls kind of helped that too, especially the Jenny character, Amy Steele. I'm a big
Yeah.
Amy Steele fan, and I think
Oh
her
yeah.
character really helped that because she was really the only one that really felt empathy and really wanted to understand and felt bad for him and why, you know, which
Yeah, and
I
it
thought she
doesn't
did.
help that you're putting The Burning up against that, because that is my favorite Friday the 13th movie is part two, and it's because of
So much.
Jenny and um, just how she outsmarted him. I always just remember loving that when I was a kid, the whole sweater and putting
Yes.
the sweater on and outsmarting him and all that stuff. And I just love Baghead Jason. I think he's super creepy.
Yeah,
Um,
I did a Final Girl spotlight that I started. My very first one I did was Amy Steele.
yeah, she's great. She's great in that movie.
Drake says, if you had to pick one horror franchise to keep, but the rest had to go, which would it
One to keep.
be? Yeah.
So you're basically asking what my favorite horror franchise is. God, I you know what? I've said this before, but I think Friday the 13th is probably the most consistent horror franchise, and it has 12 movies that I can enjoy. So I'll
Right.
keep that one. I enjoy all the Friday the 13th movies. I don't think there's one that I don't. I even because like Jason Goes to Hell's like in my top three. I love that movie. I grew up with it. I watched it all the time. Still got the VHS in there. Not a lot of people would have that opinion.
Right. Right.
And I
Well,
love
hey,
Jason Takes Manhattan. So those are like the divisive ones. I love Jason X.
oh
Um,
yeah, that's rare. You don't hear many people say they like Jason X, but
I
I
love
do
Jason
because it's
X.
just fun. You know what I mean? It's a good time. That's what it's all about.
I can, and technically, if I keep Friday the 13th, I can still have a little bit of my Freddy in there because I can keep Freddy versus Jason because that's in the
Right.
Friday the 13th franchise.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
that's
I
that's
agree
a
with
cheat. That's a
I
cheat
agree
right
with that
there.
way.
Um,
Exactly.
the remake's probably my least favorite, to be honest, and I haven't revisited it since I saw it in theaters.
Friday
That
13th.
that is like the one that and Part Three I think are the only two I didn't watch in my Scream Factory box set yet. I
Huh.
don't know why I never got to Part Three, but that was the only one that I skipped that one.
Do you like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake?
I've only seen it once, and I remember hating it. I just remember it. Honestly, I just remember it being boring, and I like fell asleep during it. And I just didn't think it was that interesting.
It's the
Um,
final girl. It's the kids. They're just not. I mean, they have to be
yeah,
interesting.
it didn't piss me off like it did Rob Zombie's Halloween remake. So
Right.
I'll say that for it. I want to revisit it. I feel like a lot of people are talking about the Nightmare remake recently and saying, "Hey, it's not that bad." So I want to revisit it and
I
see if
hate
it's
it.
not as bad as some
Well,
people make it out to be. Because I've only seen it one time. So
I don't hate it. I mean, Jackie Earl Haley did it. He did a good job for what he had. But look who he had to follow.
it's hard with Freddy because
Hmm.
it's an actual actor. Like Robert Englund is that character.
Yep.
Like you can put anybody in a Jason or Michael Myers suit. Like you could argue that some people portray Michael Myers better. Like I think James Dew Courtney is awesome as Michael Myers, maybe like the
Yeah.
best that we've had.
Castle's
Um,
my favorite. Always.
and
He just had an aura to him.
Yeah, Castle. I mean, you can't beat that. That's the OG right there.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. You can put anybody in
Right,
that
right.
suit. It's not going to take that much away
Right.
from it, but like putting somebody in that Freddy makeup and it's not Robert Englund, it just feels wrong.
Yeah.
It just feels wrong. So I don't know how you can. It's just going to be tough if they ever want to bring that franchise back or do anything with it without Robert Englund. It's just going to be really tough for
Phil
me
says,
anyway.
Phil says, would you agree that the 80s is the best decade for horror and horror fans?
Yeah, hands down, for sure.
Drake says, Scream Factory or Arrow?
I got to go Arrow Video. I think they do the best work as far as the restorations, the packaging, the features. I mean, Scream Factory does great special features too. Um, but you know when you get an Arrow Video release, like you're going to get your money's worth.
Like,
Um,
like I said,
sometimes you don't always know that with Scream Factory, but I do
it's,
love
yeah,
Scream Factory. I
so do
do.
I. Yeah.
It's probably my second favorite.
Prism says, favorite Tarantino movie, including Natural Born Killers and True Romance. Let me see. What's your favorite
So
Tarantino?
I can include those. So I
Uh,
haven't seen Natural Born Killers yet.
well,
I've seen True Romance a long time ago, but favorite Tarantino movie is I go back and forth between Pulp Fiction and Kill Bill.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And to me, Kill Bill 1 and 2 are they're one movie as far as I'm so.
yeah, I also love Django too. Um, Hateful Eight doesn't get enough appreciation, I think, either. That movie's incredible. And
That's
a
got,
lot of people would say it's like one of his lesser films.
oh no way. Yeah,
That's the thing about Tarantino. Like, he really doesn't have anything that's bad. Like, all of his movies are great.
I
I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, too.
that is probably one of my lesser liked ones. You know what I mean? I don't care for that one as much. I do love Hateful Eight though. It it's got that one part, man, that is so tense, and you just and you know what part I'm talking about. That one
Yeah.
scene was, oh my god.
Samuel
It's like,
Jackson, like, that might be his best performance.
yeah,
He's
that
so
was
good in that movie. Like, he owns that movie. I love Kurt Russell in it, too. But
yes, absolutely. Like Kurt Russell was the one thing that I loved the most about Death Proof.
Kurt
Um,
Russell's awesome in Death Proof. I love Death
he,
Proof.
he goes from this vicious killer and talking all this shit, and then he gets that one shot in there, and he's screaming and crying the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Oh
movie's
my
awesome.
god, it's great. Yeah. Okay. You said Carpenter. Now, you was mentioning Carpenter, and then you mentioned Craven. Best horror director for the last question of the evening. Best horror director.
Best horror director.
Yeah, that's a hard one too.
Um,
I can't even hardly answer that one.
I guess because I tend to gravitate towards his movies more. Uh, Carpenter. Um, but also like when you talk about Craven, like you have the first Nightmare on Elm Street. Like I feel like his Craven's movies are like higher up on some of my favorite horror movies of all time. But I don't
Uh,
know because Carpenter's got The Thing and Halloween, and like those are both some of the best. I think The Thing and Halloween are both better than Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream.
okay, The Thing or Halloween? This is a big question because Halloween is my all-time favorite movie, but I love The Thing too, and a lot of people argue
That's
with me when I say The Thing.
It's so hard with these questions because Halloween's been with me since I was probably like 11 or 12. So I'm of the mindset that sometimes once a movie's my favorite of all time, I just can't have another movie come overtake it. It's my
Right,
favorite. It's gonna stay there forever till I die. I've been thinking about it a lot recently. Just is it okay to have certain movies that you saw a little bit later and that you've grown more attached to years later? Is it okay for them to come in and take that top spot?
right.
Um, because The Thing I watched last year, and I'm like, I think this is better than Halloween. And maybe it's just because I've seen Halloween like 100 times, and the impact of it has kind of lessened a little bit.
Right.
And also because the new movies are really hurting my opinion of Halloween as a whole recently. Um,
Yeah.
I wasn't the biggest fan of Kills, and Rob Zombie already broke my Halloween heart back in 2007 when that came out. I thought
Yeah.
they were going to repair it when they came out with 2018, and I liked that one when I saw it really good. But that's gone down for me a lot on the rewatches. And then I watched Halloween Kills, and I'm like, there's just not. They're just milking this Michael Myers cow dry until there's nothing left.
I wish they'd
And
ended it. But 78 should have been the one. I think it'd be so perfect if it had been one movie and the last thing we seen of Halloween was when Donald Pleasance looks over there and he's gone. That'd be fantastic if that would have been it.
oh, just the first one.
Yeah.
See, that goes in what I was going to say next, because I was going to say, I don't know about you, but I watch Halloween 1 and 2 as one movie, kind of like you do Kill Bill 1 and 2. Because
Well,
when I was a kid, I would watch 1 and I could not finish the first one without popping in Halloween 2. I
that's because
love
Halloween
2.
Especially the first part of Halloween 2 has got the same vibe because I mean the opening scenes he's walking around behind in backyards and you can hear him breathing and it's got all that same feel to it.
Yeah.
If the brother sister thing wouldn't have been in there, it would have been better.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be, I don't know. So I guess I have to say Halloween. I guess I have to say Halloween because again, I'm not prepared to say that The Thing's gonna overtake Halloween just yet, but I feel like it might someday. The Thing's is damn good. I will say,
yeah.
I think it's a better movie. I do think it's a better movie.
Well,
I think there's more there, just in terms of like performances and acting, and just the cinematography and just everything. Just the story I think's better.
yeah.
Like Halloween, like the story's very basic. Like Halloween just has the atmosphere
Yeah.
and that feel to it, just that old school slasher vibes and feel, and it's scary, and it's still scary after all these years. So you got to give it to it for that too.
That's what 2018 didn't have that they kept saying that it would have, and I argued with so many people about that to say that the 2018 is almost as good or it's a great sequel to the original Halloween. It's not. It doesn't have any of that vibe to it to me. None of the atmosphere that the original had.
Yeah, I'll agree. I wanted it to, and they put up that orange font at the beginning, and they said Mustafa Akkad presents, and they showed the pumpkin, and they played the music, and I was like, oh, I'm into this. And then I was like, yeah, that was great when I walked out, and then I bought it on 4K and rewatched, and I was like, is that still great? It was pretty good. And I just started noticing more flaws as I went. And Halloween Kills definitely brings it down even more.
Yeah. I'm really terrified for Halloween ends. And when it does, I hope it really does. Leave it alone. Stop screwing it up. Please.
Yeah, the only thing they can do at this point that I'd be on board with is if they jumped into another timeline and maybe they picked up the Danielle Harris timeline and brought Jamie back or something.
Right.
That could be cool. But other than that, maybe they do a direct sequel to part 4. Maybe they cut out 5. They could do a direct sequel to part 4, and maybe she's murdered some people and she's in an asylum herself or something like that. I don't know. That could be some cool stuff. There's something there.
Part 4 would have been so much better if that wasn't for that damn mask. I've never seen such a Michael Myers.
Part 4 is the very first Halloween movie I ever saw.
He just looks so happy in that mask. You know what I mean? That mask is so, he looks like that uncle that you like a lot. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's not, how hard is it to get back a William Shatner?
I didn't mind it because it felt more realistic because he wouldn't be able to get back the same mask. It's 10 years later. So it made sense. He just bust into a drugstore and got a cheap generic mask. Because those drugstores, when you were a kid and you go in there and be like, there was a difference between getting a mask at like Walmart or like an actual Halloween store.
Absolutely.
And getting one at like the drugstore. They were just these shitty, like really super generic masks. So that kind of made sense if you're looking at it from there. But also it's a movie. So you could have made the mask look any way you wanted to make it.
Gotta love the toy section at the local CVS. You gotta love the toy section.
Yeah. But I was going to say, that was my first Halloween movie. I got it on VHS tape. My uncle got it for me for Christmas. And on the cover of the VHS tape, it's the old Michael Myers mask and not not the one that's in the actual movie. So they were smart to put that on the poster at least to get everybody into it.
Yeah.
I still thought it was kind of creepy when he first like lifts up and he's in Jamie's room and the lightning's crashing. You see
Yeah,
him like his face for the first time.
yeah, it's got one of the better stories, and it's got some of the better actors. Ellie Cornell's a pretty good final girl. Of course, young Danielle Harris, she was mucho talented. You know what I mean? So it's like it's done.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I don't like about it. It's that damn mask just looks so happy and friendly. It just drives me nuts.
I'll always have an attachment to Halloween 1 and 2 and the fourth one. Like, I don't think I'll ever not like those. Some of the other ones have gone down in quality for me. I love Halloween 3, but I don't know if you can count that because it's something's totally different.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that.
Halloween 5 I like Halloween 5 okay, but it's not the most exciting to watch. I just remember I had a good time watching them all on 4K. I don't know if you got those 4Ks that came out last year.
Yeah,
But they were all awesome. But people have been talking about like them releasing Curse of Michael Myers and H2O and Resurrection and the Rob Zombies. Like, oh, let's do the next 5. I don't know if I'm going to be as excited to rewatch all those in 4K. I don't think that. I don't think any of those. I don't think any of those are very good movies. I know some people like H2O. I'm not a big fan. To me, that's just like a Scream knockoff. Like that's not even a Halloween movie. I can get some enjoyment out of it, but it's not a Halloween movie. It's like a Scream movie.
Yeah. Have you heard anything about The Exorcist coming out on 4K?
No, but we're gonna have the 40th anniversary next year, so I'm sure we're gonna be hearing some rumblings about that. They like to tie these to the anniversaries.
Like the Godfathers and the first
yeah,
Godfather.
I think we're getting Poltergeist this year. Because that's the 40th anniversary, and next year will probably be The Exorcist. And I hate to say it, I know some people want the Nightmare on Elm Street Scream Factory box set to be this year. I don't think it's going to happen this year, and I don't think it's going to happen next year. I think it'll be 2024 before we see that thing, and it'll be the 40th anniversary of Nightmare on Elm Street.
You think that's what's holding it up?
I think that they've got a lot of work to do on it. I just can't see them releasing that in an off anniversary year. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Right.
But they usually like to tie these things to the anniversary because I can do like even bigger promos and stuff for it. But I don't think it's going to be this year. It could be next year, but I could see them pushing it all the way to 2024. And maybe this year we get the other 5 Halloween 4Ks, and then next year we might get some Friday the 13th movies in 4K, and then we'll get the Nightmare in 2024.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, Ken. Like I said,
sure thing.
I to go. Hell no, I'm busy because you always got a lot going on. I got 4KD on the 27th. I got Horintage Saturday. I don't know if you know Tony Horintage.
I don't think I do, but I'll know him now.
It's horror in TOJ, and he's from Britain, and he does really good reviews. He's got a hell of a collection. Check him out.
Awesome. I have to check him out.
Like I said, thanks a lot. Thanks for joining me. I hope you had a good time. I did.
Absolutely. I love talking horror, man. Gets me going.
Well, hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Yep. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Hit that like button.
Yep. Thank you. Later.